in your land, yeah, now. When you wake up in the morning,
Hey.
even in the night time, when you're feeling down and out and you want to feel fine. Yeah, man, this is King Solomon telling you to tune into DJ Kat and listen to all the conscious music you don't know, straight from the heart. Rhythm full of culture, yeah.
Yes, people. This is yours truly, DJ Kat, the Catalyst, once again. And you know, I'm so blessed. I'm going to be going live with the one and only Caya Sound.
Oh, evil man. Play smart.
Hey!
Greetings.
Greetings. How are you?
I am truly, truly great, amazing, busy, and yeah, just grateful. I'm really good, thank you.
That's great to hear, sis. You know what? It's a blessing.
How are you doing?
You know what? The same, really. Just grateful for keeping busy, you know, thanks for life, kind of everything in one, really. But yeah,
Love, love, love. Good, good, good.
every time. You know what, sis? I just wanted to say thank you to you for coming through, having this conversation, because it is a blessing and I really appreciate it.
Bless you. Thank you for the invitation. You know, I'm always up for sharing the Kaya story, speaking to sistren, speaking to brethren, everything. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime. So I think this is the time when we ask you, who are you?
Okay, so I am Tali Lotus, and so Tali is actually short for Naphtali. So in the Rastafarian calendar, Naphtali is the month of January, the tribe January. So yeah, Tali Lotus. And I'm the founder of Caya Soundsystem. So I'm born in January, actually. So yeah, I'm the founder of Caya Soundsystem, which was established in 2016. I'm also the founder of Kaya Audio, which was established in 2020. And yeah, I'm Tali. I'm Tali and originally from Northwest London, born and raised, dad played sound. Parents are from the Caribbean and South America. And yeah, a lot of my kind of initial inspiration and history stems from what we now know as, you know, the Windrush kind of first and second generation. But yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I'm a mother of one. So yeah, that's me basically.
Wow, what a story already. Yeah, man, I like that. You're Naphtali, I'm Aisha.
Oh,
I'm the tribe.
okay. You are all
That's it, yeah.
early or late? August.
Early,
Okay.
8th of August.
Oh, that's my mum's birthday actually. She's the 8th of the 8th.
Oh, okay. Blessings to your mum for when it comes around.
Absolutely.
So,
Cool.
about this journey of Kaya Sounds. I think if we start it off from there, we can talk about everything else. Tell us about that journey.
Absolutely. So, how did Kaya Sound come to be? Well, it really started, I suppose how it all started is really, I suppose, from me being born. I'm actually doing a series which is due to start next week, which I'll share with you, which is on Kaya through the ages. So I'm putting together like a series of mixes and what have you about the musical influences and stages throughout my life. The first one being kind of like the embryotic stage, which is like the sounds of the womb, which were the sounds that I would have been probably created to, you know, so like my parents in sessions, rubber dubbing, you know, my dad playing sounds and what have you. So I think the Kaya story really starts with me being born, having that upbringing, and then obviously, well, not obviously, but kind of going through life, having lots of different musical influences. I've always been a creative, so went to like the Brits Performing Arts School, and but then I had my daughter, and so I kind of got caught up in very much the kind of 9 to 5 stuff. And then when I got when I had done all of that and achieved what is so called the status quo, I really wasn't happy. You know, I'd achieved everything that they said you're meant to achieve, but I wasn't happy. And that's when I decided, actually, I don't want to do this anymore in the 9 to 5, that kind of status thing. I actually want to do what I'm passionate in, which is music and sound. And it was really how Caya started, well, not started, but the stage, what happened was I had that kind of epiphany. And then thereafter, I had started getting into a lot of Buddhism and mindfulness and all the rest of it. And yeah, it was actually through that I kind of started seeking out what happiness meant for me and what have you. And it was at that point that I started really listening to a lot more roots and dub and what have you. And then I had this dream, basically, that I had this sound. I was actually at Carnival. I went to Carnival, and then that night I had a dream that I had a sound. And I was with a sister, and she was like, you know, you can make it happen. And really, that was the kind of catalyst of Caya being birthed as a sound system. I then spent like a year just kind of doing a whole lot of research and kind of touring up and down the UK, visiting different sound systems, and really to find out what they, obviously, as well as my dad and what have you, and all of those influences about what sound meant to them, what they considered, you know, a sound system. And then in 2016, I basically established and gave birth to Caya Soundsystem. So yeah, it was a beautiful thing, and toured up until like 2020 to the pandemic, and that's when I kind of it evolved into what is now Caya Audio. So that's how it kind of started. That's where it's kind of been taken up to. But yeah, Caya the sound is still very much alive, just that I haven't played out in a little while. So yeah.
What a journey, what a journey. But I need to ask you, how did you find, you know, taking that step, you know, from that 9 to 5 to, I suppose, believing in yourself, you know? How did you find taking that step?
I found that step massive, but because I'm a creative, you know, sometimes you think of a lot of external things that you think you need to have, whereas really it's all in you. Because how that transition happened was, I thought, right, I've got, you know, I know obviously for lots of different people, they're in different circumstances, but I had my house, and I thought, well, I've got to become really resourceful and basically make my money for me. So I live in a shipping container in my back garden, and rent out my house. So it's really, I'm a creative, so I can do things like that, and I don't feel no way about doing it. But for me, it was almost, as a creative doing a 9 to 5, it was literally like life and death, because I'd done it for so long and it was so against who I am as a person. I thought, from once I've got the tools and the resources and I can see how it's going to work, you know, I done a madness, had a shipping container dropped into my garden, and yeah, rent out my house, kind of the best part of it, and decided that, yeah, I need to do this. You know, I had my daughter, I've done all of that kind of thing, and I thought, yeah, I want to go hard, and if that means I have to make these kind of sacrifices, then that's what it is. So it's scary. It was very scary, and obviously I had that kind of, I suppose, security. But even if I didn't, I think I probably would have done it some other way, because I'd been working for, you know, a good, like, in my job for about 9 years.
Okay.
And whilst it had allowed me to get everything that I had, you know, I knew in my heart that I'm a creative and I'm doing something that just isn't allowing me to flow. So yeah, it's scary, but on the other side is your freedom. So for me, it was, I always try and advocate for people doing what they need, you know, like what the scary thing seems to do, because I think I more times than not, it always works out. Yeah, more times than not.
Hear that? You know what? I have to big you up for that. I feel like you took that leap of faith, or leap of inspiration, and you just went for it. And not many people do. So I have to big you up for that.
Thank you, thank you. That means a lot. Yes, it takes a lot, but you get a lot as a result. I see it as.
Yeah, 100%. And I got to ask you. I mean, I know you took inspiration from your father, and I want to know, does he like your sound? Because sound women criticize each other, don't they?
My dad is actually, and has always been, a really good, like, I think my dad has 5 children. I'm the middle child, so I'm the kind of special one, but I'm also the one, I say that, and my siblings will be like, yeah. But I'm the one that takes most after my dad, even though, so he's got 4 daughters and 1 son. But out of all of us, I'm the one who's the most kind of musically inclined, I would say. Yeah. So when it comes to the sound, he's always like, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? But not in a bad way, more so in, you need to kind of do more. But like of late, obviously the past couple of years, the focus has been more so on the mic and launching the mic and what have you. But no, my dad he's a music enthusiast. And I must say that he never ever criticized me. He's just always kind of wanted me to do more, and has always been very supportive of anything that I kind of do, and was very proud, because even like a lot of Kaya and even the color, I didn't even realize it, but when I've looked back on some of my dad's old kind of sound posters, like when he was playing out, they're all orange, and a lot of my logo and Kaya is orange, so there's a lot of his influence. But no, he's very supportive.
Yeah, I love that. I literally love that. And you spoke earlier about, you went around and you did some research.
I did.
And I'm interested to know either, what did you find, not everything, but what did you find out? And did anything shock you?
Well, the thing is, yeah, there was a lot. So I went all the way up to Nottingham and visited, it's terrible. I visited V Rocket. And I also visited lots of different sounds, Black Cat Soundsystem, sounds all over basically. Yeah, and Channel One and Cultural Roots and Black. So there were lots that I spent time with, as well as like Festus Coxon. What would I say I learnt from them? I think I learned all different things. I think what I definitely found was that everyone did it their own kind of way. But I think, there was kind of clear differences or distinctions between like mixers and preamps and three-way systems and four-way systems and vinyls and MP3s, like everyone did their thing a little way different, because in fact the name Caya came from another sound, in that I was actually going to call it, at the time when I was kind of thinking about the sound, I wanted to call it, or one of the names was Rebel Woman, but I actually thought, it's too contentious. Well, it wasn't too contentious. I just didn't want to be like, my kind of initial forthcoming was like, I just didn't want to instigate. I wanted it to just be like a real artful, spiritual, inclusive space. And I thought that Rebel Woman might be a bit too, people are looking to me for maybe clashing or what have you. So I just it didn't gel. And then I was with Black Cat Soundsystem, and I was like, well, this is before I started up, and I was like, I don't have I don't have much vinyl, I don't have that much music, and he said when he started, he didn't have anything, but all the rasses that he was around were just like, just come as you are. And that was it. Boom, Caya. As soon as he said that, I thought Caya. And that's how Kaya's name actually came into existence. It was just through speaking. But I think throughout my conversations with everyone, I think it was the same, there's a kind of narrative was the same, but they all had their individual take-ins on what made a sound system. So there was no kind of continuum. It was just kind of like an umbrella of, we love sound and this is how we play our sound. There wasn't, you mustn't do this or you mustn't do that. I don't remember that at all. There was just a lot of be an individual, bring people together, and yeah, just love what you do. I think generally that's what I got from it.
Yeah, wow. And you know, I mean, hearing your story and kind of the fact that you went out and researched is really powerful as well. Because you know, some people just build up whole heap of sound and then boss up the bass and that's it kind of thing. So
Yeah,
how did you feel about it? Did you feel like it was important to do that research before you made a sound?
absolutely. A million percent, because I felt like, um, I felt like, well, I think yes and no. I think it all depends on how you see things.
Okay.
For me, it was like, why did I think it was important? I thought it was important because it's like I'm building on something. I'm not kind of I'm not the initiator of this. I need to kind of find out like what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was very much about hearing about how others did it, as well as I think also on the other hand, I think that I'm very much about tradition
Mm.
and innovation. So you know, there are some people that, yeah, like you said, are just kind of turning up and bossing up.
Yeah.
And I think that's just as relevant. Don't get me wrong. I think there is definitely a lot that you kept from the tradition, but I
Yeah.
think turning up, bossing up, it brings a difference. And I'm very much, I wasn't as much, but I'm very much for the difference, you know,
Okay.
like it just can't be the same, the story's the same. You have to have that one that breaks the mold, you know, like I'm not someone that listens to agree.
Yeah.
I generally listen to hear perspectives and then kind of, because I just think that it allows me to grow more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just as important to turn up as well as to hear the story of others, you know.
100%. And I mean, there's nothing like that vibration. There's nothing like it, is there?
Mhm. No, 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 definitely. There isn't, there is not, there is definitely not. But I think, yeah, the story, the kind of journey of sound, the kind of ups, the downs and rounds, but I'm sure you'll get onto that. I'll speak more about that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you know, I mean, we had a tragic loss, you know, with this great legend, Jashaka. And I'm pretty sure everyone that's in the music industry, or even just music lovers, were touched by the fact that he passed on. And I wanted to know, what was his impact to you, basically?
I think his impact on me
Mm.
was one thing I've always struggled with, whether it's my family, whether it's my community, whether it's in partnerships, is that I've always been very different.
Yeah.
And I know everyone probably considers themselves different, but I mean, like the things that I was doing when I was like 11, 10, 11, they weren't the general norm.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't dress like everyone. Like I was always from a very young age, I was very kind of counter brands, charity shop. You know, like I was doing things back then. Even the music interests that I had, they weren't. I had music interest in the general kind of what was popular, but I kind of always had a different kind of what I felt in terms of my family. I've had a very different
Yeah.
outlook. So I think for him, discovering Shaka made me feel like it's okay to be an individual.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's amazing to have people around you who support you and are doing their thing, you know, and can kind of support you. But I think there's also, I think he demonstrated to me that it's okay to be alone, because you know they always say like, I think there's a lot that's said about kind of being a lone wolf,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's considered a kind of bad thing. And it's not to say that I don't like to keep company, but there's something that just how I am, I can be parts of group, but I'm generally kind of an individual, and I get things going, and then might kind of have people help me. But I think he inspired me to, or he empowered me to be an individual and know that as long as you're doing what you're doing and you're true to what you're doing, it will all kind of come together.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's okay. I think, yeah, he for me is the not eccentric, but he's the one. He's the anomaly
Mm.
that everyone grew to love, because you know at that time it was everyone is a part of a sound system and everyone, which you know he was part. It happened that way, but he found his way. and he continued at what he was doing. And yeah, I think that's how he inspired, let alone, you know, his music and what that did. I think him as a person, it just made me think that, yeah, you can do this. And yeah.
100%. I agree with everything you said. And, you know, something touched me that what you said about being an individual, because I can relate about being an individual and kind of sometimes you just want to be on your own. You don't want to be around people. You want to step back.
1,000,000%. And I think some people, you know, are just not like that. Some people, they need, like, they get empowered or they get energized by being around people constantly. Whereas for some people, it drains them. So you've really got to know where you get your energy from and work accordingly, because there's no point in you forcing up yourself and you're just not that kind of person, because you'll end up depleted. And so I think, you know, like, and when you watch, whenever I saw Shaq, it was very much like that, like, and that's what I enjoyed about sound.
Yeah.
It's incredible, because I like being part of everything, but still being by my, because, you know, obviously he had his, you know, you couldn't touch him or what have you, but it was like he was part of it, but he was still in his own zone. I love that. And that's what I loved about Soundsystem. It's like you're part of it, but you're also in your own zone. So you're amongst people, but it's still kind of, and so yeah, that's a really magical part of it for me. And him, yeah.
100%. And, you know, speaking of kind of coming up to when you were, obviously you're doing audios now, but I wanted to know kind of about how are you finding Soundsystem at the moment? And, you know, obviously before playing out to suppose now if you were to go and play out. Do you get what I mean?
What I think now and why I kind of shifted my focus.
Yeah.
It's because obviously the pandemic happened. I wasn't really interested in becoming an internet DJ. It just really didn't resonate with me. So that's kind of what caused me to, I wouldn't say transition, but evolve, because it was always part of the plan, but it just happened a lot sooner to kind of becoming more so involved in products and manufacturing, what have you. But I think that how I see sound now is, and why I wouldn't say wasn't, but what, you know, I had a lot of success with Caya when I initially started, and, you know, even now, people, you know, I get events and what have you. I haven't done any, but I think the point that I'm trying to get to is that what happened, or what kind of what I felt started to happen was that when you're a woman and you've got a sound and you have a certain appeal, you can get caught up in quite what I felt like you can become a token act. And don't get me wrong, there's, you know, it's nice to be different, but then at the same time, you can also be like a token act.
Yeah.
And I felt like I just don't want to be that. I'm more than that. What I do is more than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at the moment, Soundsystem is the space and sound system as a whole. I think it's going through a major shift in that, obviously, you know, people are still building sounds, but I don't think if you were to compare it to like maybe even 2 or 3 years ago, it's as much. That's what my personal opinion is. I think that people in the past 3 years have definitely drifted a lot more to, you know, controllers and digital music and downloads, which I think is just as valuable, but obviously it's not sound system. I think they're two different things. I do both, but I think that is what has happened, which is a nice addition. I don't think that sound system has still had its kind of real appreciation, in that a lot of the sessions still happen in spaces and places which are not fit for what the actual tradition is. I think that, I doubt that there are as much young people becoming as involved as they once did. But I do think that, sound system is still a great tradition.
I hear that. And you are 100% right. I feel like either there's not enough kind of spaces for sound that are suitable for what we have, you know, or it's kind of, okay, shut it down at this time, you know, like there's lots of restrictions. And I wonder, are people, I don't know if afraid is the right word, but a bit kind of scared of what a sound is?
But I think it's just what you have to appreciate about now and modern society is that everything is convenient.
Mm.
So if you've got a man that can turn up with a controller in a little case and some, active speakers,
Yeah.
and it's done, versus someone that's coming with a big old, or me coming with my kind of my scoops and my preamp and the tower. People want convenience.
Mm.
And more and more, that is where the world is shifting. People want convenience. People want to be able to pop up, like you've got a lot of things which are just instantaneous, and I get it. It's not for the sound systems, but it is for what people want, which is to be able to pop up something and to create a vibe and a scene. And people, I think, have just become a lot more innovative on how they create sound spaces now. It's not the kind of, we need this venue. People are just popping up wherever,
Yeah.
and making it happen. And I think because music has and the whole creative industry has become such a recognized necessity now for our well-being. You got like massive corporations which want a DJ to come and play at their away day or something, for their well-being hour or something like that. And when they're looking for things, they're looking for convenient devices and people. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because it seems to have keep coming up for some reason in conversations I've had, is about kind of the audience that sound system is kind of attracting. And the discussion seems to be around, there's not enough, I suppose, not enough Black people that are coming and attending sound system. It's usually, well, white people that attend or will build a sound, and kind of more to the European market, I suppose you'd say. And I wanted to know, like, what you think and your thoughts around it. Are you offended or upset about it? That kind of.
No, I would I say I wouldn't say I'm offended by it. I can see why people would be. In that, I think obviously the attendance thing in terms of who attends these events.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously because there's been a real change in the music and how the music's made. Because you find a lot of what I've heard is that a lot of people, who would typically attend a root session wouldn't necessarily go to something which is a lot more almost dubsteppy, or like a lot more European almost. So that's why. And then you don't have a lot of homegrown sounds which are playing out often enough, which really have that pull anymore. Because there isn't almost new music to kind of to it not inspire, but to kind of to generate interest in that space. You know what I'm saying? So you've got on the one side, yes, the attendance of more Europeans and white people, but I think that it's because the music has been made in that way now, versus less Black people, because there isn't as much new music when it comes to roots music, or it's not being played in the same way. I think as long as there is the appreciation of where the fundaments of this sound system, culture, music, is from, then I see no problem with it. I know I've had incidents when I first started where people were offended with me because they didn't feel like I should be doing it or what have you, and they were of a different race to me. So I think that yeah, when it comes to the whole more Europeans and less black people, I think, as always, it's like you don't mind someone who has taken inspiration from you, as long as you give credit where credit is due, you know. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm interested to hear kind of your challenges around that. If you're happy to sort of explain, because I mean, for me personally, being from a household where I'm mixed race, as it said in the system, being from black heritage and white heritage, it's interesting because I've faced kind of some challenges from either or end, if I could say it like that. And I just
Mhm.
kind of wanted to know, like, what was your challenges and how did you overcome them, you know, to
Well, I think, well, not I think, what the issue was really around was they felt like I hadn't done enough years in the in the scene.
mm,
Um, and for me, my argument was, well, basically, if my people, you know, because it wasn't like I went to them with the argument. It was more so that they approached me or made it known that they had an issue with me. My kind of comeback or my truth was that actually, if my people didn't give you the music to play, you wouldn't have it, because do you understand? And that's how
yeah,
there was no argument after that, because yeah, you're playing the music, you feel like you've been here, you know, longer and should have the same kind of recognition. But really and truly, the foundation of everything that you're doing is because my people gave you the music. And if I turn up to it like 50 years later or 30 years later, it's like someone saying to, for example, a royal, someone that's, you know, part of the royal family, well, because we were studying it before you came, you know, you decided to study it, then you know, you're wrong, or you shouldn't be doing this. They're a royal through and through. It's like, that's my heritage.
yeah,
No matter how long you've been doing it, you know, it's like things in the British Museum, for example, no matter how long you want to keep it up in there, it's a case of that's my history.
mm,
So that's how I kind of went about it. And it wasn't really like it couldn't be an argument, because it was just like, you know, I know my history and it is what it is. And I think it just inspired me to kind of do more or learn more about myself. Like I do Black History Studies. You know, I do a Black History Studies course because it was like the thing was, who do I think I am? You know, and it was like I could say, yeah, well, I'm this person from that place, but I kind of flipped it in that when they asked me that, and I could say, well, I'm this person, I'm from here, but it's like actually on a deeper level, if I really, you know, knowing who I am makes me even more powerful. You know, like I'm from a place in Kush that's, you know, has this kind of person, and my heritage is from this lineage and what have you. So it actually inspired me. It wasn't initially, I was offended because I thought, you know, I'm just trying to play music out here. All I want is good vibes for everyone. I can't understand why people be having issues with me. You know, like, come along if you want. For whatever reason, people have the isms and schisms that they do. But as I said, I just kind of flipped it and made it more so about me kind of learning more about myself. So yeah.
yeah. I like that kind of twist, you know, and I can relate. I can relate to it. Like I said to you, I've had it from either end of the scale, I suppose. And to be honest, when you first hear it, you do feel anger. You do feel like, what are you talking about, you know? And then you try and channel that anger, you try and channel it, and you do get kind of, okay, calm down, let's move forward. And you kind of go like that. But I mean, if I was there, I would have been like, you have to let her play, man.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
to.
yeah. No, definitely. It wasn't even like I was, the thing is, it wasn't even like I was trying to kind of come on to, like, they had their own kind of setup, they were doing their own thing. I wasn't kind of trying to go onto their sound or embark on their station, whatever it might have been. It was more so that because I had kind of garnered all of this attention around me and the sound, um, they basically didn't, the only thing that I can assume is that they didn't like it, and as a result they made it known kind of thing and tried to get at me in that way. But yeah, it just meant that I became a lot more a lot more educated in who I was as a person. So yeah.
For real. And you know what? When it comes to sound, what makes you different? Because, like you said, you generated all this interest of your sound, of you. So what do you think that was, and why do you think it was?
Um, I think, do you know what? I think it's a lot about who I am as a person,
Yeah,
and that in the most come as you are kind of way. It's not in an egotistical way. It's not in any kind of way apart from what it is. I think it's who I am as a person, and the way I go about doing things. So it's been said, you know, and I think that, yeah, people either gravitate towards you or they don't.
yeah,
I don't I I don't think I did anything overly special. I just think I was true to what my mission was and is,
yeah,
which is literally to just liberate people through music and bring people together through music. So I think that is really what it was. And I think, yeah, people just gravitated towards
yeah,
it. And I think it was very much because it wasn't like contentious. It was just really safe. You know,
yeah.
I think that's what it was. I think it was really safe. And yeah, I was doing things and I've done things that, you know, just meant that people got together.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's many that you can say, but is there some memorable moments that you can think, wow, this is it kind of thing?
Yeah, I think when I went over to, I have to look on my posters. When went over to, blah, 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 I went over to a reggae festival in Spain,
Yeah,
and I kind of played a set like early hours of the morning as the sun was rising,
okay,
and Queen Amiga was there, and there were quite a few others. That Jayut were there, and it was an amazing, amazing experience. And now I think my very first session was another incredible session that I had. Which one would I say? So the one in Spain, I would also say my first session, obviously. And then I also think that probably the one in London, which I did for um, Africa Day celebrations, that was another really good one.
yeah,
But all of my sessions have been just really different. They've been different for one reason or another, and so they're all special in their own special way. But yeah, um, yeah, they've all been special.
I hear that. And if somebody, I'm not even going to say a younger person, but if somebody wanted to start a sound or create a sound, should I say, what would you give them for some advice as a starting point?
What would I give them as some advice for a starting point? Um, I would say be really true to what it is that you're doing this for. That would be my first, like what are you hoping to gain from this? Or I think, yeah, what do you want to impart upon, having a sound, or, what do you want to give rather than what you want to get? That's what I would say. And then I think that really will be the foundation of anything that happens thereafter, just because I think with sound system and the where sound system is today, you've got to be prepared for the long haul. It's not the pop-up shop. It's definitely not the pop-up shop. So that's what I would say. You've got to be really honest with yourself about what you want to give and what you want to get, because more often than not, you're going to get less than what you
Yeah.
give. So that's a major consideration. And I would actually say, are there other ways that you could do what it is that you want to do. Just because I think, yes, I'm an advocate for sound system, but I'm also an advocate for innovation. Innovation. So is there another way that you could potentially be doing what you hope to do with a sound? I don't know, having a radio station, DJing even though it's at the other end of the spectrum. Is there other things that you could garner? It could be radio presentation, it could be product manufacturing. Are there other ways to do and to make your mark on what it is that you're trying to do? I'm not saying that sound system is the last resort. No, I'm just saying, is this, and the investment that you're going to make, is this the only way that you can do it?
Yeah. And so yourself, I mean, you have spoke about innovation, and how are you innovative, I suppose, is the question to ask. What do you do? Like, let us know what you do and how you kind of work it around sound and who you are.
Yeah, so innovation, I think for a long time, I really didn't understand where it all came from, the innovation, but because I'm someone who's, I'd say, you know, more spiritual than not, it actually involved me going into like my birth chart and understanding who I am and what have you in my history. And the sign of Aquarius is very much governed by two planets. And so you've got the kind of traditional, which is kind of the Saturn, and then you've got the kind of more innovation, which is Uranus. So it's kind of like two planets. So I'm literally that. I'm kind of very much for the tradition, but I'm also very much obsessed with innovation. And so that took me a long time to appreciate, because it was just like, but you said that you want to do this thing, but now you want to do this, and you seem to like them both the same way.
Yeah.
So once I kind of had understood that, it was like, yeah, this makes sense now. And really for me, as I've spoken about, the tradition of sound system cannot be denied. But I also think that in order for it to last another 100 years, there needs to be innovation.
Yeah.
You know, like this. I actually share the same birthday as King Tubby. And I think without his innovation and what he did, or without Bob's, you know, pioneering what they did, you know, or Scratch, I see myself as a disruptor.
Yeah.
And those disruptors who were back then, I actually see them as entrepreneurs, what we now call entrepreneurs, but they were disruptors. So yeah, what I'm doing now with my audio side of thing is just that, disrupting. I think that there's a real big difference between sound in what I have experienced is very black, and audio is very white. And I want to change that. I want to change the fact that what we do shouldn't just be for, you know, sound system. I think that what we do should be able to be, you know, marketed to a much wider platform, a global platform. So that's what I try to do, and that's what I will be doing in lots of, and again, not only through product manufacturing and making and what have you, which isn't, you know, a walk in the park. It takes a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I think it's really just through creating innovative ways of or new innovative ways of sound system today, because I think that I love the tradition. I love my boxes. All of my boxes have names. They have, you know, like it's a part of me, you know. There is definitely a connection that I feel to my sound, but I think in order to keep that alive, you have to, it's like generations, you know, you if you stop procreating and reproducing, then you die off. And I think that's what will happen. You can't eventually things, you know, if you continue the same way, they'll just become archaic and there'll be the has-beens. Whereas if you try to continue on this continuum of new ideas and things, then you're more likely to continue the overall thing for much longer. Even though no one likes change, change is good.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so that's what I would say.
Well, as they say, change creates revolutionaries, right?
A million percent. And yeah, as I said, it took me a little while to understand why I was so obsessed with this innovation, but also obsessed with the tradition. And yeah, my sign Aquarius, which is Bob's and Dennis's and a whole heap of others, you know, really it really makes me the person that I am, and I'm grateful for that.
100%. And you know, we met at the reasoning session in London, and
We did.
I won't be honest,
Had we spoken before then, sis?
I thought we did. I kept thinking that we had.
We did. I think we did. Yes.
Yeah, I think, well, physically, it was at the reasoning session.
Yes, that's
And
right.
I'll be honest with you, I hadn't heard of a reasoning session just specifically for sound. And I was like, really, I felt really emotional about the day, to be honest. Really excited, but really emotional just to have elders, youngsters, everybody in between to talk about music, sound, and who we are. And I wanted to know, like, how did you feel about it? And kind of, is there going to be more, you know, that we could possibly create?
I think it was definitely a long time coming, and we give thanks for Goldsmiths and the international team who put that together.
Yeah.
So someone's just asked, what is the reasoning session? So the reasoning session was a day back in November, which was put on by Goldsmiths University for all members of Soundsystem culture, whether you were kind of DJ, sound woman, sound man, box builder, etc. I should say box builder, but you know, if you were into, you know, designing and building, you know, speakers, there was crafts people there. So it was a day for sound system culture and the people that are involved in serving that community in some way, shape or form. And this is, you know, it included, you know, us as the younger generation, but it also included the elders. So you had the likes of Channel One was there, Iration was there, Jayut was there, you know, and then you had the younger sounds, which included us. So that's what the day involved. But yes, sorry, going back to your question, sis, oh, what did I make of the day? Yeah, so I think it was definitely a long time coming. It was a long time coming, and we give thanks for the sound system international team who put it together. And I felt that it was a really good day, which allowed people to come together who, in, you know, for whatever reason hadn't, you know, because sessions happen, but you can't always get to them, or, you know, there's this or there's that. So it was a really good day to actually embrace in person, you know, because especially now where things have become so digital, and you know, you don't have to be somewhere, you can have online meetings. We're now here on Insta Live. You don't actually get to embrace and shake someone's hand or give them, you know, embrace them and hold them. So I think it was a beautiful day for that. And I think what was highlighted was really interesting. I think it was interesting because hearing from the elders what they felt, you know, was something that they needed, was really interesting. Just because I think traditionally, obviously I think it was interesting from both perspectives, in that the elders were able to say, this is what we want from the youngsters. But I think because of the tradition of our culture, it's generally not something that is encouraged, where, you know, the youngsters can go to their parent and say, actually, I think that it's not, you would get clapped down straight. You know, you get clapped down. So, you know, and that's the kind of generally how you just get dismissed kind of thing. If you're someone who is younger and your ideas or your, you know, beliefs or your perspectives are kind of different or counter to what you think or they think is the way to do things, a lot of the time it's been dismissed, or it's just dismissed. I think my experience has been. So it was a really good day just to be really open and hear from both sides of the story, or from both sides of the generation, what they felt was important to them and what was important to us, and then you meet in the middle. You know, I don't think that it should be one way or the other. I think there's definitely middle ground for everything to work in the synergy. You know, that's what I would say.
I hear that. And did anything shock you at all that you heard, or you kind of what you seen?
Did anything shock me? I think nothing shocked me. It didn't shock me because I think even though it was it wasn't necessarily what you would want from that situation, but I think, you know, obviously now sound system culture includes everyone. You know, it's expanded far beyond the kind of norms of, you know, black and white or man and woman. It includes a lot. And I think obviously the discussion around it being a safe space and people feeling safe was something that was really, I think it was important to be raised, as well as I think it was important to hear from different perspectives why, you know, they felt the way that they felt. But I think it was definitely something that needed to be highlighted because it's important. Obviously sound is very much come as you are, so I wanted for everyone to feel welcome, and that's very different to the traditions of when sound system was initially established. So yeah, I think that was something that was important to be raised and to get perspectives on.
Yeah. It's interesting because you could see people feeling a little bit uncomfortable around that particular discussion. So yeah, I could see a few of the elders shifting, you know, feeling uncomfortable. But I think for me, it was just, I was thinking in my head, I hope this is not the only one, you know, and continue this discussion, or even, I think the discussion around archiving and kind of putting a documentary down to what sound system is and what it brought to us as a community was really important. But it's about, okay, who's going to do it and when's it going to happen, you know?
Yeah, I think what I definitely noted, even though I was very appreciative of the day, was that there just really isn't that, you know, like everything in this day and time, it comes at a cost, and we really don't have that financial funding and support that is necessary to archive and to keep things like this going. You know, like we don't have our own building. We don't have access to a lot of things that we really should have access to, or which should really be, you know, part of a heritage. So we don't have a site or anything like that. So yeah, and I think it's something which, again, there's a lot of money towards, you know, more so now, but still not specifically for sound system culture.
100%. Do you think it's not seen, I don't know, as valuable, I'm going to say, but not seen as something to invest in? Or because it is very much against the system, you know, that's the kind of the music that we put out there, which is great for us, you know, but is that, do you think, the reason why the investment doesn't happen? I don't know. Or because, I mean, we could invest in ourselves, right?
Yeah, and I think those who are, you know, of the younger generation most definitely are. You just have to look at, you know, Young Warrior and all that he's doing to see that, you know, it is about, and we are investing in ourselves. Why don't I think we get the investment? I just think because I think primarily because when sound system started, it was very much something which wasn't considered as valuable as, you know, other forms of community entertainment, culture, what have you, and as a result, it's never really been recognized as it should. Obviously now it's getting more and more recognition, festivals, etc. But I think it really comes down to the foundation of it and how it was initially adopted and incorporated. Like when you hear about what the sound men and women had to go through back in the day, it's not something that anyone would want to put money towards because of the conditions that they had to play music in, who they had to get beat up by, where they had to store their sound, etc. And obviously now things have evolved, but it still has that kind of aesthetic almost of being something that people do in a back room, and it makes a whole heap of noise, and you know, it's that's what they do kind of thing. But I think this generation and what we're seeing now with people who are, you know, producing more music in our generation, people who are putting on their own sessions in places which are of, I wouldn't say a lot more recognition, but you know, it's become a lot more upfront rather than back room. So I think people are becoming a lot more DIY, but professional in their DIY, you know?
I hear that. But, you know, it's a bit of a hard one again, because, I mean, we are coming to the forefront, but I also think that we're a bit scared to come to the forefront as well, because we want it to stay traditional in itself. We don't want it to be commercial, you know, because that kind of ruins it again. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. 1,000,000%. I am one of those, and that's what I mean, is this careful balancing act of kind of being in the middle, which has its benefits and its disadvantages. So yeah, it's like almost if you want to go fully commercial, does that involve somewhat selling out, or what might be considered selling out? You know, there's been things of late within the community which have been seen as selling out. Yeah, it's a, I think for me and Kaya, and that's all I can go by, and what I try to use my moral compass on what I do. I think if it's something which in its foundation is true to the tradition, but also very, very authentic to modern day at the same time, if that makes sense, then I'm happy, you know, because I think, that's what I try to do in a mad kind of equation kind of way. I try to make that happen.
Yeah, hear that. And as a music player and a music lover, do we have a responsibility, sis?
Do we have a responsibility to
our community, to the people we play to everybody really that either listens to us or hears us? Do we have a responsibility?
Do we have a, do you, I think in terms of as sound people, women, or are you just talking about as, a bit more, do we have a responsibility to, are you asking me as a sound woman?
Yeah, I think, well, the thing is, my kind of question comes from, I suppose, the music we play and having kind of responsibility of what we play. So, for example, myself, I don't play anything that would be too, what we would refer to as slap or too raw, you know. And I have that principle within me, so I won't play it because I don't want it to be played in my house. So I won't play it out for the people. So just those sort of things. And I wondered if anyone kind of has that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's again what, you know, how you establish your sound. So I think for me, as I said, my sound, when I kind of the initial concept and building the sound and engineering the sound and what have you, it was very much, you know, Kaya, come as you are. However, at the heart and center of Kaya was to be able to educate people through the message and the music, you know. So for me, I don't play any, I generally, not generally, it's roots, reggae and dub. That's what I play on the sound.
Yeah.
And that's just because that's what I feel my role is, you know. Like, and I thing is, I'm not a clashing sound. I'm not a clashing sound because I feel that I'm literally, I'm the kind of vehicle that exposes this to the people. I shouldn't be caught up in it being like, ba 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 bam. This is that's, I'm taken away from the message. They're, you know, I'm literally just a vehicle that makes it happen. So in terms of having a responsibility, I think it's what you set the fundaments of your sound system to be, because you might have, as a sound person now, your criteria, your audience, who you're playing to might differ. So I think it really is, if you're talking, like for me, I absolutely think that I do have a responsibility to the people that I serve music, you know, play music to and serve music to. And for me, it's about educating and empowering through what I play. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, obviously for each and every one, it's going to be different. But for me, I do think that, yes.
Yeah. And big up yourself, Black Awards. They're saying, yes, we do have a responsibility, even in general as a community. We have a responsibility to each other, especially the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hear that. And it kind of leads on to the next question, really. I had a great interview with King Earthquake. As I'm sure you've met him. He's a great sound man himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of putting across that he feels like the authentic roots sound system is not really happening. It's all about kind of how high you can jump and those sort of things. And I wanted to know how you feel about authentic roots and what he was actually saying in that regard.
Yeah, I definitely, I think it's something that we discussed earlier. I think there's definitely been a shift in the music, how the music is made, who the music is therefore, as a result, becoming more appealing to. And yeah, I think it's just part of what evolution does, you know, like technology is built, it allows you to access music and access music and instruments without having a live session, without creating that authentic sound that a lot of the roots music was made as a result of. So yeah, I can't not agree. There's definitely been a change in the music, and there's been a change in the music. There has.
100%. And so somebody's asking, are you a producer, sis?
I am not a producer. That's one of the only hats I don't actually I don't wear. But yeah, no. I do everything else apart from production, and yeah, I don't really have any interest in production, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
I can sing, I can toast, I can do everything. I hold a mic, but production, it just doesn't strike me as something, because I think when I think about production, I think about all of the different layers. I think I couldn't just produce a beat. I'd have to make the song and all of that, and I just think, yeah, no. So yeah,
You watch out, years to come, you'll be saying, Kat, I'm producing now.
More than likely that will happen. More than likely that will happen, because yeah, I should say at the moment I'm not a producer, no. But who knows, in time to come it may all change. And I'm open to everything. If a wind breeze takes me that way, then I'm going to go that way and see what it leads to. Someone that tries to take up all opportunities. So yeah, who knows what will happen.
Definitely. And do you remember that time when you built your sound and you played your first tune? Do you remember that time?
I do, back in 2016, and yes, I can't remember the first. It's terrible. I probably can't. Oh no, I do remember the first tune. Yeah.
Okay. How did you feel? I was gonna ask you what did you play, but then I was like, oh, how did you feel?
I know what I played, and how did I feel? I felt like, the siren there's a siren thing that goes da 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 da. That's how I felt. That's how I felt. I felt like, man, you some dope kind of woman, kind of thing. I felt like, yeah, you set out on a mission, and here you are. Here you are, T, kind of doing this, and yeah, I was majorly proud of myself, just because I decided on something, and you know, it wasn't easy, but it was something that I was able to achieve single-handedly. And yeah, it came through. It was, when I think about, you know, sometimes sometimes I kind of have to reflect and I think, wow, you really did do that. You know, like it's not, sound isn't easy. And as a woman, kind of doing it all, it was definitely a major achievement. My first tune was actually "Come As You Are" by Joseph Lalabella.
Okay.
And so yeah, that was, it was a beautiful moment. It was really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's nothing like it, is there, when you've built the sound and then you put it on and you're like, woo! You feel it over emotion, you feel everything in one.
Yeah, you definitely feel like it's a connection. You know, a connection is like, it's like when you, the only thing that I can compare it to is like when, you know, the scenes of the Matrix and you kind of like, they're all kind of plugged in, and now I just felt like I was now connected to this live
Yeah,
system, which was just like, yeah, it was like giving birth almost. It was like giving birth to a child, and now I was powering this major system, you know. So yeah, it was literally like giving birth to a child.
yeah. Wow. And, speaking of that, you mentioned earlier you have a daughter,
I
and I'm always interested in to know, how do you kind of, I'm not going to say, I suppose, educate, because I'm sure she asks, what is this, mummy? Or what is this? What is that? Do you kind of show her what things are?
I would say with my daughter,
Yeah.
she definitely, I think more so, my daughter is interested, but she's not as interested,
Okay.
which is quite interesting to some, but I think more so my nieces, and yeah, my niece in particular, when I had the sound, she was a lot more interested, and I definitely kind of went through the whole, this is sound, you know, this is a preamp, this is a turntable kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think why I would say that my daughter kind of has an interest, I wouldn't say she has an interest even. I think she sees it more so as a spiritual journey, you know. So I don't think she sees it as my mum does sound. I think she sees it as my mum is a very spiritual person,
Mm.
you know. She kind of just sees it as, yeah, this is part of who my mum is as a spiritual person. She has a sound system, and so it's that's what she does, and these are the things that help her be spiritual, kind of thing. So yeah,
That's really cool. And has she played a tune on your sound yet?
she has many years. Well, when sound was initially established, she did when it was all kind of set up in the front room. You couldn't get past without kind of knocking the turntable. So yeah, she has most definitely played a record, and yeah, I think she very much sees the sound literally like a sibling, because it's literally come and not taken over, but it's become a big part of our lives, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. I like to hear that. Might not be necessarily always there, like as in engaging, but they know it's there. They know what the actual purpose of it is. And I feel like that's really important, even just to see a sound, because it's not nothing like anything else.
It isn't like anything else, and I think that that's what inspired me. You know, as a child, I remember my dad's sound system,
Yeah.
and I remember the speakers. I remember all of the electronics being upstairs in the attic, because he had built like his own little den in the attic.
Yeah.
And I remember going upstairs, up the ladder, to kind of spend time with him whilst he was just meditating. And he's exactly the same now. He has his space, and he's just literally surrounded by music, and he's away in his space. So yeah, I think that's what really inspired me from a very young age, without even knowing it. It inspired me, and because I was, you know, like at that point, I was a third daughter of, yeah, I was the third daughter. So it was my time to spend time with my dad through music. That's how we really
Yeah.
bonded, because the eldest, who's like the eldest, and not, they can't do anything wrong. Then you've got the second middle one who's just like, yeah, the second one, and then you've got the third one who's like, it's a third daughter now. So you've got to try and find your own way of bonding. So that's really how I bonded with my dad, through his sound system and showing him that I was interested in it. Like, I actually know this stuff, that I can see what you're doing, and I'm interested, because it was just my way of getting attention. So yeah, I think in the same way, my daughter has that same kind of affiliation with sound, and how she sees it in time. You know, who knows what she'll go on to do, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I really like seeing the next generation, and, you know, kind of the engagement, and seeing that they are interested, or they look at the sound, or they look at a vinyl or something like that, and they're thinking, oh, I like this, you know, I really do like that.
I think the most beautiful thing though is when they come to it themselves. Like, my dad never forced it on me. I was just really curious and wanted to know what all this stuff was. And I think with my daughter, should she ever decide on my niche, it's going to be through their own kind of interest and their own wants. You know, like, I would never enforce that. Like, you need to do this or you need to do that because I did it.
Yeah.
No, no, no. I came to it as a result of my life path, you know, and what it was set out for me to do. Like, I believe that I was meant to build Caya Sound System. That was, you know, it's part of my life path. And so, yeah, I think for them, they'll have their life paths, and, you know, whether they kind of build a sound or are part of a sound is what's in it for them. So
Yeah, I hear that. And of course, I have to ask you, I mean, what are your plans for the future? I mean, how can we connect with you in the future, or even tomorrow, you know, if people want to listen to you and get to know who you are?
yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously my pages are Audio by Tiny Lotus, which is what we're on now, but also Caya Audio, which is the production side of things, which is where all the kind of technology happens. So it's just Caya, Caya, and Audio. So yeah, you can join the page there. I am going to be releasing, as of next week, a series of mixes, and it's going to be, the series is called Caya Through the Ages. So it's me from kind of pre-birth to modern day sound system, or not sound system, or me from embryonic stage, to the sounds that I was listening to in the womb, to modern day, you know, what I'm now listening to. Because even though I have a sound system, I don't just listen to dub and roots and what have you. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for me, as someone who isn't solely in sound system. I think it's important to demonstrate that you can have a lot of different arms connected to different genres and do different things as a result of your core interest in music and sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, in my pages, obviously listening into the mixes when they are done, buying a microphone once they're launched, which is going to be very soon, but the journey is what the journey is. That will happen when it happens. And I think overall, yeah, obviously I'm available for sessions and to play music, and for Caya to turn up whenever necessary. So yeah, that's the way in which you can support me.
Yeah. You know what, sis? It's been really, I'm not gonna lie, it's been really nice to speak to you, get to know you a little bit more as an individual, as a sound, and just kind of how your journey. I think it's always important to know somebody's journey, and I'm sure that's probably a small part of it. I'm sure there's so much more that you could speak
Yeah,
on.
it would be hours, Kat. We would
I know.
literally hours, honestly.
Somebody's asking, what do you sing? What do you sing? I think they're asking if you've got any songs out. I think that's what they're asking.
Oh, don't have any songs out, no, but in terms of when I say I sing, so I write, I DJ, you know, like I can host a mic, I can toast, I can do all of that, but I don't have any songs out, no, but yeah, I can confidently sing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, you know what, sis, it's coming to the last bit of the interview, and I always sort of ask anybody that I'm interviewing or meeting with, would you look for either saying something positive to people out there, or anything you would like them to take away from this interview?
Well, I think it's just got to be my signature, always come as you are. I think authenticity rules. I think come as you are, authenticity rules, and I think never live your life out of fear. That's what I would say. You know, like, I've done some wild things in my lifetime, and I know it's like easier said than done to say, oh, I have no regrets, but I think that the jumps that I've made have been a result of pushing back against that fear, which I think is so normalized. You know, like, if you're afraid of something, it's like, okay, now you don't do it. But I think actually when you push back against that, some beautiful opportunities, like some of the most beautiful opportunities have been from me just saying, yeah, I am going to do this, or asking the question, you know, like, you know, in a very diplomatic way, like, what do you mean by that? So, or, you know, like, never, I think never operating out of fear, never operate out of fear, authenticity rules, and come as you are. Those are my statements.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else to say. Mic drop. And, you know, before, like I said, before we do go, how can people book you, or, you know, get you to come along to their...
Send me a message on audio by Tali Lotus, or send me a message to Caya Audio. I'm available on both. Obviously, also my website, which is www.cayaaudio.com, and that's all related to the microphone, which is a Caya X3E mic, which has been in the making for some time. It's still in development, just because I am wanting to include a lot more smart technology. So yeah, I think really following the journey of Caya Audio, because it's not something that has been done in our community. Like, what I'm trying to do, being the hybrid between the sound and audio world, isn't for the faint-hearted. But as I just said, and now I have to live by it, I can't operate out of fear. So yeah, following the journey of Caya Audio, you know, getting in touch, asking me questions, yeah, reaching out. I think that's a good way of keeping on.
All right. And, you know, like I said, again, thank you for taking this time, and, you know, just having a reasoning session. It's really nice, and, you know, it feels like it's been relaxing, and just to get to know you more as an individual. And I can't wait to see what you've got coming in the future.
Absolutely. And I just want to say massive thank you to you. Thank you so much for doing this consistently. Thank you for bringing us all together. And yeah, thank you for being the person that you are, Kat. I really appreciate you and appreciate all that you're doing. And continue on. And in any way that, you know, I can assist and support, then just reach out.
Yeah, I will do. I will do. So I'm going to say good night for now. And I'm sure we're going to keep the link, and there's more to come, I'm definitely sure.
Absolutely. So love. I actually don't know. Can we share this video? Will you share it to me? And I don't want to lose all of this, because it's been a really good interview.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll save it on my page, and then I think I can download it, Instagram download or whatever it's called, and then it takes it off, kind of thing. So yeah.
Cool.
Really cool. Yeah, well.
Love, blessing. Thank you for everyone who joined as well. Blessings. Take care. Blessings. Bye.